Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we're doing our final election prediction for the 2026 Florida Governor Republican primary. A very interesting race, a very hard fought race, and at times a very nasty race between some of the top contenders in this race. It's going to be very interesting. We're going to break it all down for you, who the leading candidates are, what they where they're currently polling, what we're expecting to see happen on Election Day on Tuesday, and ultimately our final election prediction between which one of these candidates we have currently winning and by how much. Okay, so just to be clear, on Tuesday, the Florida governor primary is taking place to succeed current governor of the state, Ron Desantis, who is term limited. He has served 2 consecutive terms. He cannot seek another third term. There are a lot of candidates running in this race. The candidates that you need to be most familiar with are Byron Donalds, are James Fishback, Jay Collins, and Paul Renner. Those are the 4 main candidates to know in this race. Just to give you an idea of who's who, Jay Collins is the current lieutenant governor of the state of Florida. He was appointed in 2025 by Republican Ron Desantis to serve as the lieutenant governor in the state. Byron Donalds is the current U.S. representative of Florida's 19th congressional district, which includes parts of Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Sanibel, Bonita Springs, Naples, and Marco Island. Paul Renner is the 103rd Speaker of the Florida House of Representatives from 2022 to 2024, and from the 19th District between 2015 and 2024. And James Fishback is an investment firm founder, but he's most well known for his social media presence, where he has gotten a lot of followers and come up in viral clips a lot for a lot of the statements that he has made. So these 4 candidates are the 4 most well known in the Republican primary. And this is where things are going to get very interesting. Also worth noting, a lot of Republican candidates or people that could have been candidates ultimately decided not to run, that were considering running for a time, including the First Lady of Florida, Casey DeSantis, obviously the wife of the current governor, Ron DeSantis, Matt Gaetz, the former U.S. representative of the 1st District and close ally of President Trump for a long time. He considered a run but ultimately did not. And Francis Suarez as well, who was the mayor of Miami from 2017 to 2025 and candidate for president in 2024, considered a run but ultimately did not end up doing so. In terms of some of the endorsements in this race, Jay Collins has the endorsement of a state representative, a few local officials and organizations, but Byron Donalds is the one who has the main endorsements in this race, and wow, does he have a lot of them. Like a crazy amount. Obviously, the most important among them are the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. He has the endorsement of him, several cabinet members in Trump's cabinet. Both U.S. Senators Rick Scott and Ashley Moody endorsed Byron Donalds, and a ton of U.S. representatives both in Florida and across the country have come out and endorsed Byron Donalds in the primary. He's clearly the main leading Republican candidate, the main establishment candidate in this race. He's the one that most people are betting on being the Republican candidate and has gotten all of the big endorsements in this race thus far. No real surprise here, though. This has been known for months that that's the case. James Fishback doesn't have too many super well-known endorsements from politician-wise. He does have a very few individual endorsements that are very well-known, especially on the farther right side of things, especially on Twitter, like Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, Andrew Tate, Sneeko, a lot of people that are known on the more far right wing of Twitter. Paul Renner, Ted Yoho, former Florida representative, endorsed him, and a few state legislatures as well. And then Ashley Moody, who declined to run, had the endorsement of Ric Flair. Most notably, Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, has declined to make an endorsement in this race, including not endorsing his lieutenant governor, and Jay Collins, who he appointed. He has not yet endorsed him as of time recording this video. In terms of money, as of June 26, 2026, Byron Donalds raised the most money, about $10.9 million or so. He spent about $4.1 million, so at a minimum, he probably has around $6 million cash on hand, which probably be used for the general election. In terms of the polling data and where things currently stand right now, the polling data from 4 polling averages and the Wikipedia average of those shows Byron Donalds with very large decisive leads in this state, or in the race. Donalds has on average 46.6% of the vote. Jay Collins is in second at 13.3%. James Fishback is in third at 9.7%, and then Paul Renner is in fourth at 4.4%. But here's the interesting thing here is that 26% of undecided or voters are currently undecided in this race. So there's a very large amount of undecided votes in this race that it's possible it can coalesce around any of the 4 candidates. Now, that being said, seeing as Byron Donalds among most polling averages starting out around the mid 40% or even higher, it's going to be very tough for any of these candidates to get enough of that support to defeat Byron Donalds unless there's a massive polling miss that the polls are just missing, and there opens up the possibility for someone other than Donalds to win, which is a possibility. We just saw that in Wisconsin with Francesca Hong versus David Crawley, that the polls can be off by a lot. That was off by like 20 points in that one, so we do have to take that into account of that possibility. That being said, that was essentially a 1v1 race of Hong versus Crawley, and this one, Jay Collins, Fishback, and Paul Renner all are going to be staying in the race here, and it's going to take pretty much 100% of the undecided vote to get those candidates close. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out here. A few of the recent polls, one from Collins' own internal polling, showed Donalds up over him by about 16 points with only 4% of the vote undecided. A Quantus Insights poll from back in July, a popular Republican pollster, showed Donalds around 50% of the vote, Collins at 16%, Fishback at 12%, with 13% of the vote undecided. It looks like at this current point in time, Byron Donalds has a lot of the support really locked up here. In terms of the Republican primary winner on kalshi, Byron Donalds has, no surprise here, a 98.2% chance to win. James Fishback's up about 0.2% at 1.7%, but the odds are very statistically in the favor of Byron Donalds. There would have to be a catastrophic polling miss for Byron Donalds to not appear as the winner thus far. I do have my own prediction coming up as well. Oh, sorry, this is going to be this is a different one. This is going to be the one I'm going to use to adjust the results. But I do have a actual prediction from the electionenjoyer.com where they go through a simulation hour by hour to see how this race ultimately end up. We're going to hit play here and see how it comes in between Donalds, Fishback, Collins, and all of the candidates here. As the results start coming in, you can see in the bottom left, they declared Byron Donalds the winner here. When we get to 100% of the vote in, obviously I'll do a quick little recap of what they have. And then on that other page I showed you, I'm going to do my own little adjustments of the numbers here to show you what it will look like. Because Florida is going to be interesting to see depending. This website has James Fishback doing a lot better than the polls currently has. They have him really consolidating most of that anti-Byron Donalds support, where with about 70% of the vote in, he's around 38%. Donalds is at above 47%. Again, we'll see. It's possible this ends up happening and Fishback gets a lot of this support. He's certainly the most well-known candidate online, Fishback, I would say, outside of Byron Donalds, but I don't know if we're going to actually see this come to pass when all the votes come in, if Fishback does this well. If he does end up doing this well, this would be pretty significant for him, getting such a large percentage of the vote here with about 100% in. Their website's default rankings have Donalds getting about 47%, Fishback about 38.5%, Collins has about 9.7% on this. We're going to go on to this one here. We're going to adjust in just for a moment, make some comparisons, but you can see in some big population areas here like Miami-Dade County, I might need to move the map a little to show here, but it shows Donalds leading Fishback 54-35 here in this population center. Broward County, where Fort Lauderdale is, goes for Donalds about 55-31. West Palm Beach and Palm Beach County, 48.3 for Fishback to 36.6 for Donalds. In the Tampa area, Hillsborough County goes 50-34 for Donalds. In St. Pete, Pinellas County is about an even split, but Fishback narrowly wins 39.5 to 38.4 there. You look up here in Orlando as well, in Orange County, goes nearly for Donalds, 43.6 to 41.2 across that county there. We look in Daytona Beach, Jacksonville, 44-32. Lots of areas in the state of Florida, obviously big in population. Down in Cape Coral and Collier County, Naples, this is going to be a very good area for Byron Donalds. This is where he's from. So that's what they have it on their website. They have Donalds winning 47.1% to 38.5%. In terms of how to adjust this here, we're going to look at the adjust rankings here for something we could see here. I don't know if Fishback gets that amount of support because the vote's kind of getting split. It's possible he does, but we could see a situation where Fishback maybe is down around like 20% of the vote, maybe like 18% of the vote. Collins maybe he's up around, say, 23, 24, 20% of the vote or so around there. Paul Renner could also go up to about, say, 10% of the vote, 19, 17, 10%. Donalds, I think Donalds probably won't break 50% of the vote. He might be able to. We'll keep him around like 48% for now. Collins at 21, Fishback around 20, Renner around 10. If we just have these numbers like this here, you can go county by county and see in some of these areas. Like Tampa would go pretty much overwhelmingly for Byron Donalds in this scenario. all really the West Coast and Miami-Dade would do it as well. So that's what we could see across the state. Byron Donalds at 50%, Collins at 20%, Fishback at 18.8%. If Collins does continue to do well, like the poll says, but he is down still by 16 points in his own internal poll, which obviously that's trying to make his candidacy look better, and he's still down by 16 points. So Byron Donalds definitely seems to be the overwhelming favorite in the race. The only thing that I'm cautious about is we saw this in Wisconsin, we saw this in Michigan, how wildly inaccurate the polls were. So there is the possibility that could happen again if one of these candidates could catch fire and make it a little bit closer. It's possible Jay Collins could do that, but I think James Fishback is probably the more likely one, as he's the one that's a little bit more well-known and more relevant, I would say, online. Again, that's not always everything, especially in a state like Florida, but it could be the candidate that's going to get a lot of the undecided votes as the chief opposition candidate to Donalds. I would probably say it would be Fishback, but I could see Collins and Fishback essentially splitting a lot of that anti-Byron Donalds votes as well. Paul Renner, I don't think, he hasn't been talked about too much in this race. I'm not totally sure he's going to be able to get a lot of that same vote that Fishback and Collins will. I'll expect him to finish fourth, but that's kind of where things are looking right now. Donald seems to be the heavy favorite. Again, on the website's default ranking, though, they have Donald's at 47.1, Fishback getting up to 38.5. It'll be interesting to see if this ultimately does come to fruition, because I would say this would be a much closer fight than expected if Fishback could do this. And this could be a scenario where if a lot of the undecideds break the way of James Fishback, that it could happen. But again, we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out. For some of the predictions for the general election itself here, the race to the White House average, they're predicting Byron Donalds to win the Republican primary, David Jolly to win the Democratic primary, and they have a projected lead for Donalds of only 5.9% in the general election, which is honestly really close for the state of Florida, especially in the Donald Trump era. For experience winning, they give the Democrat the advantage of 0.1. Candidate quality is essentially even, 0.7. Approval polls, 0.0. Fundraising, Donalds has the advantage, 1.1. State partisan lean, 1.5 for the Republicans. And head-to-head polling has the Republican up 4.1. So very close in the regards of the projected lead here on Race to the White House. On Vote Hub, they have it a little bit more Republican, but still pretty competitive at Republican plus 7.7. Though, again, they have Byron Donalds winning the Republican primary, David Jolly winning the Democratic primary, and they have Donalds around 53.9% margin, Jolly around 46.1%, about an 80% chance or so, 79% for Donalds to win, about a 21% chance that David Jolly could win this race, according to the Vote Hub margins here. And again, the probability they have for this race in terms of the market odds as well, they have the Republican at 82% to win on kalshi and 19% for the Republican, though it seems to be Donalds versus Jolly. They do have their polling data on Vote Hub as well, and their polling average. They currently have Donalds at 44.3, Jolly 41.5, so a lot of undecided vote still to go in this race. As the general election, we're going to see things start to take shape after the primary. But definitely right now, it's a close race with a lot of undecided vote, and we're going to have to wait and see how it plays out once this primary is ultimately settled. In terms of that, I think we can now go to our final prediction for this race for Donalds, Fishback, Collins, and Renner. How do I have this ultimately end up going? And definitely the Wisconsin one was a shock to me last time. Michigan was a shock as well. But Florida, I think Byron Donalds does end up winning it, and I think he ends up winning it by a safe margin of 15% of the vote or more. The question is going to be ultimately, can a candidate like James Fishback or Jay Collins or Paul Renner, can one of them consolidate enough of the support over the rest of the candidates that can make this race competitive and get it under 15%, like the election enjoyer simulator shows here? Fishback jumping up and getting it under 15 points, I think it definitely is a possibility, though I'm not sure how likely it's going to be. I think we're going to see something play out where Donalds gets around that 47 to 50% of the vote range, and then we'll see Fishback and Collins get somewhere around like 15 to 20% each and split a lot of that opposition vote. I think Byron Donalds should win this primary. I don't think it really should be too much of a problem for him, but we're going to have to wait and see, because primaries always are unpredictable. Wisconsin just proved that. I'm very excited to see how this all plays out, but I think Byron Donalds wins by over 15% of the vote. But I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are, though. Leave them all down in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, I really appreciate it if you could hit like and hit subscribe as well. It would really help me and my channel out a whole lot if you could do that for me. You can see in the circle in the top left the subscribe here button to subscribe to the channel. On the right, there are going to be two video pop-ups for you. My latest video will be on the top, and a recommended playlist by myself will be on the bottom as well. In the bottom left of the screen, you'll see my channel name, Anthony's Election Center, which you are currently watching. On my Facebook, Anthony.ElectionCenter is also there. And if you want to reach out to me on email, anthpredicts@gmail.com is my email. Feel free to pause the video if you need to. If you want to look for any of these, obviously in more time, please feel free. But for now, though, that is it. I really thank you all for watching and hope to see you in a future video.